This is another episode of the Flightbringers podcast. I'm David King.
And I'm Dan Spottswood.
We're professional cartoonists and Legion of Superheroes experts.
And this is Super Talk.
So I don't remember, but is this the end of the What Has Gone Before, or does Michael Yeri carry the mantle?
I think they continue the What Has Gone Before.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this letters page, the beer bombs admit that they're the ones writing it, not the editor.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It seems a little stupid to me that it's in the back. Maybe Marvel it would be too Marvel-like if DC did this too, but Marvel used to run scripts like this on top of the very first page.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it's one little skinny column, and so there's not a good place for it. And yeah, they've already reserved the inside front cover for an ad or for that editorial, like this week's deluxe issue comics or whatever.
Marvel would run it long ways, just like, I mean, not unlike what's on the bottom that has all the publishing info. They'd have the same thing along the top. Maybe slightly bigger type. But
yeah, they probably should do it that way.
well, we have to write a letter and send it through a time machine and get this corrected.
Yep. Put this on the front cover. They should put it on the outside front cover. That would be great.
Yeah.
It really succinctly summarizes the previous 5 issues of comics.
Mm-hmm.
And they totally spell out, like, if you were confused about, like, issue 4 and 5 of this series issue 4 is the one where Mon-El is resurrected from death. He kills the time trapper and, like, reboots the universe history. And then issue 5 is an alternate universe history that's all Renaissance Festival ruled by Mordred the Merciless. And then by the end of issue 5, it gets rebooted again. And then we're back here to issue 6, back to kind of normal.
Right.
And if you were confused by any of that stuff, reading issue 4 and 5, say no more. It's all explained to you right here in the What Has Gone Before column in issue 6.
Easy.
Yeah. That's about all there is to that, I guess. And then into the letters. First letter's from Anthony Koch, Ames, Iowa.
Very eloquently written.
He's talking about the death of Block. He's upset by the death of Block, who was murdered by Roxas in issue 3.
But he's mature about it. He's not whining or threatening to burn DC Comics down. He understands that it makes for a good story.
The part I highlighted was, he says, just as Mon-El and Ultra Boy, this reminds me of what you were saying earlier about, we were talking about that singer. He has soul.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he says, just as Mon-El and Ultra Boy were the strength of the Legion, and Cosmic Boy was the heart of the Legion, so was Block the soul of the Legion of Superheroes. I don't know what any of that shit means. I've never thought about that, like what each of these people represents as a body part of the Legion of Superheroes. The nervous system of the Legion of Superheroes. That's Brainiac 5, of course. He's the brains.
Who is the gonads of the Legion?
Sunboy, come on.
Of course.
But who is the ovaries of the Legion?
Who is the sphincter?
Was that Dream Girl was the ovaries, or was Saturn Girl? Because she's the only one who ever had a kid. I don't know. But this guy, he's convinced that Block was the soul of the Legion, and now he's dead. Killed the soul of the Legion. Good riddance.
Yeah, I don't know if he was the soul or not.
Yeah, and he says this other funny thing. He says, in this new world, a more violent world than it had been 5 years earlier, Block's unique outlook on life is needed even more. However, you have decided that Block and his viewpoints do not belong in this world. Also, Block never had any viewpoints, and he didn't have an outlook on life. He was, I don't know.
I say this as a fan of Block. I think Block was like, he's the dumbass, and you need the dumbass. He's like the Watson, the guy who doesn't know anything, so that the other characters can explain to the readers what the hell is going on.
Right.
It is interesting that they decide at their most confusing point in history to remove the character whose sole purpose seems to be to explain to the reader what the hell is going on. I guess he wouldn't look as good in a trench coat.
But this guy, Anthony Koch, he is, like you said, he's nice about the whole thing. And he seems to be a person who appreciates storytelling and how you have to do it sometimes, versus somebody who's like, you killed my favorite character. I think you should die, Tom and Mary Beerbaum. Maybe you guys should try dying when I send you anthrax in the mail.
So it's a very mature and rare perspective. It's like people feel entitled that their characters should live on and be perfect and flawless. And yet they want an exciting, compelling story. This is kind of impossible to do both. This guy understands that. What do you say? You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah, he says I applaud this realistic portrayal from a logical standpoint and abhor it from an emotional standpoint. Mm-hmm. And he says the death of Block has affected him more than he would have believed, and it's prompted him to write his first ever letter to a comic book after 14 years of comic book reading. Mm-hmm. 14 years. Can you imagine reading comic books for that long? What a child.
Really not. Writes like an adult. Was he a child when he began?
He must have been 8, and now he's whatever the addition of 8 and 14 is, 22.
I'm glad I let you answer that. I was going to say 32.
I bet it's still wrong. I bet it's not even 22. I'm so bad at this shit. I used to be able to do math like really easily. Like I counted money for a long time at my job. And like you could be like, yeah, here's $17.27 and here's another $19.42. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, hey, no problem. Now I have no idea. 14 plus 8, I have no fucking idea. How stupid could I
ask my phone?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he accepts that this is the way they decided to tell a story, and he says, "Farewell, Block. You will be missed."
I'll miss him.
I didn't even notice he was gone, to be honest.
Damn. I would get kind of upset when things like this would happen, because from years of growing up reading them, I had a pretty good sense of which characters were probably going to be back in a few issues and which characters they won't bother ever bringing back. And he is such a character. Now, today, I think even like D-list characters come back. Like everybody comes back. But back then, if Hal Jordan dies, he's coming back. But if like Tomar Ray dies, you've seen the last of him,
Mm-hmm. And even Tomar Ray is kind of a big character. Like he's so recognizable. But yeah, Block, kind of a rock guy.
But in a strange way, that gave me a greater affinity for the characters who were in jeopardy. Like I didn't need to like pick up the latest Hal Jordan story because I know he's going to be okay. But John, I could see them killing him at any moment. So I'd worry for him and I'd be reading that.
Oh, John Stewart.
Right.
Those days are gone. John Stewart's more popular than Hal Jordan, I think.
Rightfully so.
The Tom and Mary Beerbaum say that a fair number of people seemed relieved. This was kind of a crazy thing. Mm-hmm. Fair number of people seemed relieved it wasn't a Legionnaire they liked more who got killed. And a few even expressed a good riddance sentiment, which I just did too.
Right.
I was kidding. I don't have a dog.
I feel like they tend to do this a lot in the letter column, like very middling responses. Like, seems like they're saying one thing, but on the other hand, they give you every possibility, every option.
Yeah, they're kind of
diplomatic. A lot of people love this, but then some people were indifferent, and then a bunch of people hated it.
Well, yeah, a little bit later in this one, they even have like the ratio of positive and negatives that they talk about for each issue, which is kind of interesting to me.
Right.
We'll talk about it when we get there. This letter, one thing I noticed about this letters page, it is basically identical in tone to the issue number 4 letters page that talked about pretty much only issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if a person watched our video about the issue 4 letters page, you could probably turn this off. It's the same stuff. More people saying like, I thought I would hate it and I liked it. More people saying, I didn't know what I would think about it. I hate it. I'm quitting it, et cetera, et cetera. The next letter is from...
this can't be his real name.
You ready for this guy? Dick Pfister from Columbus, Ohio. Dick Pfister. His letter is about... he's confused. He's one of the confused readers of the new Legion of Superheroes comic series.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a Legion fan for many years and wants to continue to be one for many more.
Mm-hmm.
But after the first few issues he's ready to give up. First, he starts out thanking Mark Waid for the what has gone before section, because otherwise he would be totally mind boggled. He'll have no idea what happened in these comic books. He kind of complains to Keith Giffen that in the past Giffen's too subtle and he needs to scale it back a little bit.
He wants him to just explicitly tell him what's going on. Don't show us, tell us.
Right, exactly. Like he just wants he doesn't want a comic book. He wants like a one piece of paper that just says what's happening. He wants a Wikipedia, I guess.
Right.
They didn't have Wikipedia back then.
Right. And he's been reading this since the 60s, and he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't. I would think if you'd been reading for 25 to 30 years, maybe you would know their names by now.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't. He says he doesn't know their names, their home planets. He doesn't have them memorized. Like, I mean, just by reading them all the time, you begin to remember them. Like, you don't have to.
Right.
I don't know. You don't have to practice.
I wouldn't expect anyone to know, but if you had been reading this comic book for 25 fucking years, you probably would know all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this guy's kind of a clown.
Dick Fist. Or
Dick Fister.
If that's who you really are. Maybe it's Paul Levitz. He doesn't want to interfere, but he's complaining about it.
Yeah, this is Paul Levitz's like pornography name.
I liked it so much better when Paul was writing.
He says, I think this book has potential to really be something big. I look forward to seeing what happens next, but I don't want to read a book where I have to use subtitles to get through it. Please take another look. So, like, he evokes the despised practice of watching a movie that has subtitles.
Right.
So you know this guy's a dumb moron. You know, it's a foreign movie. It's like, I can't watch a movie with subtitles. Give me a break. I bet he won't watch a black and white movie.
You have to read a comic. You can't just sit back and passively watch it.
Yeah, you do have to read it. He probably likes those 8-page backups by Steve Ditko. Those are his bread and butter of comics.
It's also, he has the audacity. It sounds like he's an editor of their boss. Like, not good enough. Try again. Please take another look.
And he's like, it's hard to tell who they are without their uniforms. Another of these clowns. Ever since Giffen started changing the uniforms back in issue of whatever, 50, over a year ago in the previous Legion series. Well, I don't know about these guys. I can't tell who they are. Like, come on. Saturn Girl has a pink costume, and then Timberwolf has a green uniform or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know who they are. Just stop being like a willfully ignorant, difficult person. You know, just use your fucking brain.
The same guys who got mad at Giffen's radical art change the last series or 2 series ago. I think you said you think it looks pretty different. Maybe I'm just comparing it to like the Trencher, which is very radically different.
That is radically different, yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like unrecognizably changed the way some people describe it. And certainly it's legible.
Totally. Yeah, these people just need to go to life. Please, again, see our previous letters page video for issue number 4. I think we really went off. I did anyway. I really went off of these kind of clowns. They're, what are they? They're extreme reactionary. No, not. Remember what they're called? There's the progressives and in issue 4, Rex Joyner named them. He says there's this one group of fans and this other group of fans. I'm drawing a blank on what they're called. But
please refer to our last episode.
The beer bump said, well, the regressives, they're not so bad. It's the extreme regressives you need to think about. So whatever. It was all bonkers. But we talked a lot about it. Talked shit on those stupid fucks.
And then entirely forgot.
Right. I mean, it was like 3 months ago when we talked about this.
Right.
Well, goodbye, Dick Fister. We're not going to miss you. The next letter is from longtime Legion fan Frank Taliber, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And he pulls a fast one on us. His letter makes us think that he hated it. He says he read the first issue in shock and disgust. And then he read the second issue. It was more the same. Oh, no, actually, issue 2 was chaos, he says. He didn't like the way they characterized Ultra Boy, turned him into a drunken swindler.
Was he drunken?
No. That wasn't even part of the story. It didn't make any sense.
Right.
But he was Han Solo instead of
Yeah.
jock asshole. I don't know, whatever he used to be.
Right. I think the second one is pretty straightforward compared to the first one, for sure.
Yeah, it's not
Or
more
the
the same.
fourth,
It's just
fifth.
a kind of a continuation of the tone of the first one. Like we said, it
Right.
ought to be one giant issue. The one,
But it all stays in one place. It doesn't really jump around to 100 different places like the first one does.
right. But he says that once he read the third issue, it began to coalesce for him. He couldn't stand it for the first two issues, and was going to write a nasty letter. But then it started to come together for him in issue 3 with with the death of Block,
Right.
and with the idea that Mon-El might still be alive, and there's going to be Mordru, and there's going to be Dominators, and there's Roxas,
Right.
and it got his interest going.
Right. He's unhappy that they killed Block, but there's that glimmer of hope that Mon-El is alive, only to die like the next issue.
Yeah. Yeah, once he read the letters page in issue 4, he was grinning and satisfied, and he realized that they weren't crazies, the creators.
Like a nobleman sipping a glass of sherry. Soothed. Giffin's Gang of Four.
Yeah, they're Gang of Four. He capitalizes that. What is a Gang of Four? Where does that come from?
It's like porn, right?
But yeah, he's like, oh, these people are real fans. They're members of Interlac, the APA, or the APA. Do you say APA or do you say APA?
I think APA, but
Okay.
I have no idea.
Right, it's so far away from whatever I had. Amateur Press Alliance. But he was about to write a letter, and then before that, he says he went and he consulted his extensive, complete, and library book-bound Legion set, looking for something familiar, and he found it. And he begins to compare this new Legion series to the drastic changes that happened when it switched over from like a Silver Age Kurt Swan period to perverted, disgusting Carrie Bates and Dave Cockrum period, and Mike Girl period, et cetera, et cetera. He says this is the third epoch of Legion storytelling. This new Legion Superheroes #1.
I feel like it's the fourth, but yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, you could debate that there's another one in there. The first time Levitz and Giffen started up, maybe it was the third.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of how we do our show.
Yep, that's true.
In those 4 eras.
Yeah, but yeah, I was kind of knocked out by his complete hardbound. No, his complete hardbound collection of Legion comics.
Jealous.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having one of those.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no value. Those Silver Age issues are not valuable anymore. You ruined it by cutting the binding off and putting them in a book. So, sorry, your Adventure 247 is fucked. It's worth 50 cents.
Do you think he really has Adventure 247 in there?
I don't know. I mean, he says it's complete.
Could be a reprint.
Did they have a reprint of it back then?
We need to contact this guy and confirm the validity of his claims.
Yeah, he's probably still out there, Frank Taliber, in Canada with that healthcare system taking care of him. His tax dollars at work. Like a guy this age in the United States, he'd be dead by now of pneumonia or didn't get his diabetes medication or something like that. But up in Canada, he's probably still doing good. He's probably still working a plow, probably making loaves of bread for his community.
Yeah, he may actually be retired.
Yeah, he's probably making little birdhouses for fun.
Struggling to stand up as a Walmart greeter.
Yeah.
Just enough money to buy his expensive prescription drugs because they don't have cheap generics like they do in Canada.
Right. I bet he's paying, like if he was American, he'd be paying out the ass for Eliquis right now.
Right.
This is crazy. He says, I await, hungry and eager for the first time in years, awaiting the subsequent issues of the series. For the first time in years. And I think I feel that way too. Like, like reading through the Paul Levitz, Greg LaRocque type of stuff. Were you ever eager for the next one of those? Not really. It was just treading water.
Yeah, lacked direction.
Yeah, but you get to the end of one of these, and it's like, what the fuck? Got to read the next one. I have to wait a month. He sounded like he stored them up, like he had all 3 of the first 3 issues in hand and read them. And he got to the end of the first one and was like, this is heresy. he got to the end of the second one, and he's like, "This is just confirming what I thought about after reading the first one." That was what he thought after the third one.
Okay.
You killed Block. You teased more Dominators and more this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm wet. My appetite is now wet, is what I meant.
Okay, it's much better.
Oh yeah, the response from Tom and Mary is this is where they start talking about the ratio of positive and negative letters. Mm-hmm. They say it looks like we did great on issue 1 with positive letters outweighing negatives by about 8-1.
That means out of the 9 letters they received.
Right. But they hadn't all got there yet because by press time they hadn't got all 50 of them. Issue 2 was much less enthusiastic release. Issue 2 was much less enthusiastically received, with the count being maybe 1.5-1. Huge drop off in interest from 8-1 down to 1.5-1. And there's nearly as many neutrals in there as positives. In the 1.5-1, some of those are neutrals. They're not even positives.
I don't feel like anything really offensive happened in 2, but maybe people were starting. You know how like in Twin Peaks: The Return, after a while you just kind of give up on Coop ever coming back. You're like, wait a minute, he's just going to be Doogie forever. Maybe like issue 2, they're like, they don't have their costumes back on. This is how it's going to be.
Ultra Boy has a ponytail? What is this? What am I supposed to think about this? That's probably right. Or neutral. I was kind of neutral in issue number 2. I didn't think it was like if I read that as if all the pages of issue 1 and 2 had been combined into an 80-page giant or something and sold to me that way, I would have been fine with it. Issue 2 on its own, it has kind of a weird cover. It's isn't great, and it's a little bit not generic's the wrong word, but it's just like a fighting comic, like there's being chased and there's fighting. It's like so standard, but then it's in that grid thing that doesn't make any sense for that kind of comic. Yeah. So it's a little less good than issue 1, but as a continuum of issue 1, 2, and 3, it's great.
It has action in it. Like the first issue, I love the first issue. It's one of my favorite issues of the entire Legion run, but nothing really happens. There's just a lot of talking. The second one, right on the cover, you have a big action scene. It's more typical superhero fare. You'd think people would be delighted to see that, but
I think like I've been saying a couple of times in this, and you mentioned it when we were talking about issue 1 and 2. Like they should have published that all in one book, and then you could read through the exposition info dump stuff. And then you get a little bit of action. It's kind of the reverse of like a in media res type of thing where you have a big adventure before the credits of the movie, and then it gets into the story a little bit more, the nuts and bolts stuff. It's kind of the reverse of that, but it would be good. It would be good to comic, and then they say the third issue letters went back heavily into the positive at a rate of about 4-1. So half as much as the first issue positivity, but a lot more positivity than the second issue.
Blockaders.
Yeah, a lot of people wrote them like, thank you. So sick of that guy. He's so dumb.
Right.
Monty Wilson, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. This guy. He says, this is just my opinion, one man's opinion, but the new Legion really sucks eggs.
I feel like that sentence is one word too long. Is it weird how that one word softens the blow? Eggs.
Yeah, but also nowadays nobody says sucks eggs anymore.
I don't think anyone said it then. Maybe people on television.
Oh, you think nobody ever said that?
I think there's a whole kind of, I don't know, like slang or dialect that we grew up seeing on television that never existed in real life.
Oh, I thought sucked eggs was like older. Like I feel like I saw that in like Warner Brothers.
Dobie Gillis or something.
Yeah. So like you would say that sucks eggs when you really wanted to say that sucks dick or whatever. Sucks
in the
shit.
80s, it probably just ends with sucks. Today it would be sucks ass.
Oh, sucks ass. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But could you tell a person like go suck an egg? But I guess what you would really mean is like,
I feel like if I said that to somebody, like I was having some kind of like confrontation with one of my coworkers, that would diffuse the situation. They would start to laugh.
Right, that would be a
They'd
perfect
be
thing
like,
to
"Did you
say.
just tell me to suck an egg?"
Yeah, like you're about to have a fight in a bar with somebody like, "Hey
Right.
man, why don't you go suck an egg?" And be like, "Let's go have another drink together."
Right.
Yeah.
The obligatory suggestiveness. What the hell is that?
I think this guy feels like they're
You
trying
pulled
to
out
put
the
in
dictionary.
they're trying to put in some dirty stuff just to titillate us and keep us watching or reading, even though there isn't any dirty stuff. Like
Right.
fucking, there's like the suggestiveness when Cosmic Boy takes a shower in the sludge, and when Chameleon Boy and Ultra Boy are in the hot tub in their speedos. And then there's a prostitute.
Right.
That's about it. That's all I can think of. Maybe it's suggestive.
Yeah, like she was getting dressed at the beginning, so maybe it implied that they lived together unmarried.
Right. But you know what I forgot? Boofer.
Which one is that? That's the one like you put alcohol through a funnel up your butt or something.
Yeah, like you put drugs in your butt.
Do you think it meant something else at that point?
Boofing? I don't think so.
It's like that's an old slang term.
I think it's been around a while, yeah.
People have been boofing for a long time.
Monty Wilson. He says this is just not a good comic book. The drama's not dramatic. The illustrations are obscure. If it wasn't so sloppy, it would be manipulative. And the humor isn't funny. Like, there was no humor in those two issues, really. There's some satire, maybe. But
I think there was humor in there, but okay. I don't know how it could. You're saying it's really bad and ineffective and obscure and erratic. But if it wasn't, it would be manipulative. Like, those seem like complete opposites. You might not like that it's manipulative, but that means it's effective, right?
Yeah, I don't know where I fall on the idea of manipulation. Like, the whole idea behind telling a story to someone is to manipulate them into a mood, right?
Right.
To get them to feel good or bad, happy or sad, scared or relaxed or whatever, right? That's what I'm doing if my story is manipulating you.
I mean, is there something can be like overly sentimental, I guess, like where they start playing sad music or something to make you cry or.
Right. That's the only time I think of being manipulated as being like a really bad trait. Maybe that's what it means, is like, oh, this is manipulative. It's manipulating my emotions by drugging me with sappy, sad music or something.
Right.
I guess that's what he means. And I guess that's in general people mean. But if you're not familiar with that idea, I'm not too familiar with it. Just in general, story is going to manipulate you. But yeah, if it wasn't so bad, it would be manipulative. So is it working or is it not? I don't know what he's talking about. Or if it wasn't so sloppy. I didn't find it was sloppy. I thought it was very neat and very well executed. But one man's opinion. He thought it sucked eggs. I didn't think it sucked eggs. I thought it blew chunks. He gets into telling them how writing a comic book is. A story should propel the reader forward and not bog him down so much he keeps looking for an excuse to do housework.
I thought that was kind of a funny line. I feel like I'm often bogged down by my work, my like drawing, to the point where I feel like
that's true.
I'm looking for excuses to clean the house.
I'd rather clean the toilet than work.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. But yeah, he has a problem with being unable to follow the story. He says he can with effort. He doesn't want a challenge. He wants Jerry Conway to tell him who the good guys is and who the bad guys is, and then explain clearly how the good guys are going to defeat the bad guys. That's a perfect comic story right there. It propels you forward. Doesn't bog you down with any unnecessary details.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, Monty.
Yeah, fuck off, Monty. Go back to...
He's in Oklahoma, I guess. I'm picturing him having like a mid-Atlantic accent.
He doesn't, believe me. He ends his letter and he says, I'm not faulting anyone, really. People write the way they want to write. I'm just letting you know that I don't like this and I won't be reading it anymore.
Kiss my $1.75 goodbye.
Go jump in a lake.
Suck an egg.
Bits of Legionnaire business. Steve Douglas of Lowell Ma. Evidently, he predicted that Mon-El would come back and then get killed again. And they point that out. They say the credits on issue 1 omitted the co-plotter credit for the beer bombs, Tom and Mary. And then this last one was kind of interesting. They say a long overdue credit. The Light Lass uniform introduced way back in Superboy number 202 and was used until she became Lightning Lass again in somewhere in the Baxter period of Paul Levitt's Legion Comics. Was designed by Hillsborough, North Carolina's #1 Legion fan, someone named Strick. Yeah. And this costume, I looked it up. It's the one that's kind of dark blue and has sort of a turtleneck almost. It kind of looks like like
well, isn't it original?
No, this is different. Originally, she had one that sort of closely matched Lightning Lad's costume. It had sort of an orange belt. And it had a high collar, but it wasn't like a turtleneck. This isn't a turtleneck exactly either, but it's a tall neck, but it's wide. To me, it kind of looked like something that whoever dressed like Goldie Hawn on Laugh-In might have designed this costume.
But this isn't when she's all legs, right? Like she probably has pants on.
No,
I know. She's got like
legs.
she's got like the white boots, maybe.
I don't know what her boots are. It's really dark blue, but it has white panels on the sides. Like under her arms, and this kind of high neck turtleneck thing. Sometimes it's a turtleneck, sometimes it's like the neck opening is like a shoulder width, but then it has this high edge around it. It's like it's not exactly a collar, but like a oversized Nehru, like her neck's a size 10 and the collar is a size 20 Nehru style almost, or something.
I'm looking at it's 202, right?
Yeah, this was a giant size issue that has
mostly reprints.
Yeah, the new story is the what's he called? The demon fish? It's on the cover.
The demon, yeah. Like it's holding Superboy and he's coming out of the water.
The splash page of this story that introduces or that shows her, it's a new story by Cockerman. She's underwater and all covered in bubbles.
Right. Yeah.
Devilfish, not demon fish, devilfish. How stupid could I be?
Yeah, okay. I know this costume. It's okay. Yeah. I like the one that she's just got high heels and it looks like she's not wearing any pants.
Right, that's
back when she had the beehive haircut.
Yeah.
Hubba.
And somehow she passed herself off as a boy with that costume on, kind of. So Strick, never too late to credit these fan-submitted costumes.
I wonder what Strick is up to these days.
Me too. If anybody knows Hillsborough, North Carolina's #1 Legion fan, Strick, let us know.
He's on Facebook under Strick.
Probably has a Union Jack as his icon on Facebook. Just kidding. I'm sure he's normal. Wait, Union Jack? Union Jack is the UK flag.
Yes.
What do you call it? What do you Confederate? Flag? What do you call that? Does that have a nickname? What do you call that? Stars and Bars, I guess.
The Southern Cross? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Confederate flag.
Not the Union Jack. Way off.
Ooh, they're kind of similar visually, but
kind of similar visually, yeah. We got one more letter. Stephen R. Sofran, Hurst, Texas. This guy's been complaining about Keith Giffen for years and years. He's been sending his letters to the Legion Outpost fanzine. I don't know, is that a fanzine or an amateur press alliance? And he's also written letters to the Comics Buyer's Guide and the Graphic Comics fanzine, and he's gotten much response from both sources. So he feels like he's getting support from these sources in his complaints.
Why do you keep writing about this?
Yeah, like
just stop reading it. Just stop reading it.
Who's reading these fucking Legion comics? He says he's been a Legion fan since 1969, 20 years.
Seems like maybe it's time to grow up and start reading real books.
I know it. Maybe move out of the basement.
Yep.
I bet Mom would like to see you get your life on the
right track.
Yeah.
She was hoping to turn that into a sewing room like 20 years ago.
Back in 1969 when you were a senior in college.
Right. Privilege.
Actually, he turns out to be a nice guy. He says he was wrong the whole time. Keith Giffen is a good creator and not a bad one. And he comes around, and this is his apology. He issues Keith Giffen an apology in the last paragraph. He says that we sometimes forget that every privilege has accompanying responsibilities. I believe that one of these responsibilities is to admit when we are mistaken, and in a long-winded way, I'm doing just that. He says the new Legion is shaping up to be the golden era of the Legion of Superheroes. I agree with him on that. A lot of people do. Many people are saying this is a golden era of Legion of Superheroes.
I'm hearing people are saying.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm talking to lots of people, and they're all saying this.
Mm-hmm.
He says Keith Giffen, Al Gordon, and Tom and Mary Bierbaum have brought a sense of individuality and reality to the characters, rivaling, get ready for this, rivaling Paul Levitz's best. And he says, I assure you that's a compliment of the highest nature. I mean, I hope they get better than Paul Levitz's best, because on Paul Levitz's, even his best. Yeah, his best was long ago.
I think he's a good writer, just not a good plotter, maybe. I think he's good at juggling lots of characters, but not very good at coming up with exciting ideas.
Yeah, I don't know if he has the big ideas that you really want in a comic book writer. Mm-hmm. Nothing personal. He seems like a nice guy. Stephen Safran says there will always be difficulties in making the Legion completely accessible to new readers, and because of this sad fact, the Legion will never see the level of popular acclaim that Dark Knight, Watchmen, and Concrete have seen. Yeah. Who else has ever put Concrete up with those other two? Not that it's not
right.
You know, it's a good comic. Concrete's a good comic. Mm-hmm. Maybe more people should be reading Concrete than talking about fucking Watchmen. But I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I think this means that this guy is an indie comics reader. He's reading Concrete from Dark Horse Comics in 1989.
Alas, Paul Chadwick, whatever happened to him?
He's still on Twitter. I follow him.
Oh, yeah?
I think he even put out a Concrete comic. No, some other comic. Like not too long ago, he had a new comic out.
He was drawing like Doctor Strange for a little while.
Really? Wow.
Way back, like early, like mid-90s or something like that.
Oh, not like recent.
No. Like, I think he'd like given up on Concrete and moved over to that.
Oh, that's really weird. He had a new comic that came out in 2020 or something, like from Dark Horse.
Okay.
I don't know why he doesn't do Concrete again. Maybe he's just kind of sick of it or something.
Probably no money in it.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Like this clown back in 1989 thinks it's as good as Watchmen. Mm-hmm. It is a good comic. Like I have always liked Concrete when I read it.
Yeah, I did too. Oh, he did some Matrix comics.
Oh, yeah?
Like he worked with the Wachowskis.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got paid well for that. Probably better than anything else he ever did.
I hope so. He did the storyboard for Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Rip Pee-wee Herman.
What did he do for Paul Rubens' Pee-wee?
Storyboard for Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, yeah. I think I knew that. I think they're on the DVD. Like, oh,
that could be. I remember I had an issue of Comics Interview with where they talk to him and they show some of them. Mm-hmm. Like there's this I guess it's early in the movie, there's like this Rube Goldberg machine where it makes his breakfast, I think, right?
Yeah.
The one where it feeds the dog, that's Back to the Future. Making his bowl of cereal is in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I think Chadwick did that storyboard.
Yeah, I don't know if it runs through the whole movie or if it's just a short featurette, but I'm pretty sure like it shows his drawings and the actual scene at the same time.
Right.
Paul Rubens had extraordinary taste in artists. He's always getting Mark Mothersbaugh and Devo, and
he should have put out a fucking Pee-wee comic with Gary Panner and Paul Chadwick.
Yeah. Wayne White.
That would have ruled. It won't happen now.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cowboy Curtis.
Fishburne. Bill Hartman.
He says, the new Legion is a brilliant gem. So keep following along. Oh, and then he apologizes to Keith Giffen.
I'm curious. We need to track these names to see how many of these people come back and go, no, I was right the first time. It does suck. Like after they read issue 4 and then the reboot. And
I wish there was a searchable database of these letters pages. I mean, I guess I should be making it myself.
You seem like the kind of guy who would do it.
I mean, it'd be pretty easy to OCR these, but like, I don't know, when you get names like Stephen R. Safran, I don't know if it'll catch that. It'll think it's something else, or I don't know what.
Dick Pfister,
yeah. I bet he's a one-time writer.
I think he's a real guy.
Stephen Safran says, I once suggested that someone put a leash on Keith Giffen. I'm certainly glad no one listened. That's it. He says, sorry, Keith. I was wrong about you. You are good. Next issue, Face to Face with Mordru. And just who is that tall blonde with the headband? there was a tease of like Supergirl or somebody in issue number 6.
There are a lot of Dick Fisters on Facebook.
Really? Is it a joke? That's the letters page for Legion Superheroes number 6.
There are at least 50.
That's crazy. Fister with a P, a really common name?
Yes.
Like if your name is Fister, it's like you're obligated to name your child Dick.
Maybe so.
Like what would be the worst first name if your last name is Fister? I'm trying to think of a worse one than Dick.
Worse name than Dick?
Worse name than Dick Fister. If your last name had to be Fister. But so you haven't found the Dick Fister of, where is he from? Columbus, Ohio. You can search by city, right?
Right.
He might still be there.
It did not yield any results. Maybe he's under Richard.
I think I would be under Richard if my name was Dick Fister.
Mm-hmm. God, there's just from Ohio, there is 1, 2, 3, 8. One of them's a Richie Fister. But
crazy. Like I thought there was a lot of David Kings. It sounds like there's more Dick Fisters than there are David King.
I don't know if that's possible. Next, face to face with Mordrul.
Oh, it's because it's Mordrul with an exclamation point.
Oh, is it an explanation? Mordrul. He's towering above the Legionnaires, foaming at the mouth, dripping saliva all over them.
The second assistant director is like, more drool, more drool.